Mark Warner is a senior United States Senator from Virginia, a seat he has held since 2009. A member of the Democratic Party, Warner is the chairman of the India caucus in the US Senate. Senator Warner recently visited India, and in this conversation with Lalit K Jha, he discusses the scope and import of strengthening ties between the two countries. This is an India Abroad video.
I felt it from the governmental leaders I met with. We had, in both Delhi and Mumbai, we had many meetings with serious business leaders. I even felt when we went to one of the slums in Mumbai, where there was a project put together partly by USAID and other organizations that were providing drinking water and toilet and shower facilities. There was even an optimism in that setting. So I think back, my first trip to India was back when I was governor in 2005. And at that point, there was this promise of what India could become. Now, I feel India is realizing that opportunity. So it was great from some of my Senate colleagues who had never been to India before, to see it for the first time through their eyes, but also to kind of, I think, appreciate how far India has come, and that, I think whether it's in cooperation on military affairs, or in terms of cooperation on economic affairs, in terms of how many people have moved up the economic ladder. I remember, again, a farm outside of Delhi where they were growing crops that only needed 50% of the water, and that every farmer had electricity and wireless service, the cell phone service, broadband. So that was a very, very popular thing. In the past, India was on the path to becoming a great power. But there's still obviously issues in India in terms of, in the non-urban areas, how many people can have full opportunity. But I feel like that past on the verge of being a great power has transformed to where now India is a great power. I think back a few years back when earlier in the Modi government, where there was conversation about how you get money down into communities and not have some of the middlemen taking out some of those funds. The fact that you've delivered on a financial identification system with fintech tools, how to relay money to rural communities. The United States could learn a lot from that. So the idea of incenting everyone to have a bank account, whether you have money or not, is something, again, I think the United States could learn from. When I saw the Indian businesses, while on one hand, there seemed to be certain economic families in particular had maybe even more power than they had a decade ago. But the success on the economic front was great. The vitality, and not just in Mumbai and Delhi, but I think about my times in Jaipur, how much more energy there was. And again, like in every American or every foreign delegation that comes to India has to go to Agra and see the Taj. But even in Agra, and maybe because the G20 is coming, the community just seemed much cleaner. There were lots of signage for the G20 meeting coming up. So it really felt like there was this is a sense of pride and enthusiasm that is well earned. Now, that is all on the positive side. On the challenge, let me talk about on the challenge side. Whether in meetings with the Prime Minister or in meetings with Jaishankar, who I've known for many years, who was back in his time when he was ambassador to the United States. Minister Shankar raise the concerns, understandable concerns about China, not only in terms of the border dispute, where I did want to compliment India. India is ahead of most of the rest of the world in recognizing the possible vulnerabilities around Chinese technology. The fact that you're excluded Huawei, the fact that you do not allow TikTok in India. Those are things that we are moving to in the United States, but India's already taken those steps. And I think there was a real understanding that the United States and India need to collaborate, not against China, but to recognize that China has expansionist plans throughout South Asia, that China has expansionist plans in Southeast Asia, and there needs to be a counterbalance, and a counterbalance of two democracies that will stand firm, not only on defense cooperation, but on values cooperation. So I think there was much more an appreciation and a willingness to acknowledge the challenge, the potential threat that China poses. In earlier visits, sometimes, there was sometimes I feel an unwillingness from my Indian colleagues to do anything that might offend them. Now, in light of the border conflict, I think there is a recognition that India is willing to call out Chinese aggression and to find common ground. And one of the areas that I spent, in my background is in the wireless communication systems. I spent time with the telecommunication ministry and national security advisors and others on how the United States and India can cooperate in 5G and the next generation of wireless communications called ORAN, Open Radio Access Networks, where we can take, where you move away from a hardware-based system to more a software-based system. Where is India strong? Where is America strong? In software systems. So I think there's great opportunities for collaboration there. And when your National Security Advisor, Mr. Doyle, who I had dinner with in Washington, had met with Jake Sullivan in Washington 2 weeks earlier and came up with this framework of an agreement around telecom and other technologies. There was, I think, a real sense that here's a framework that we can work together on. That's the positive. Let me also now say one of the concerns, and I say this as a long-term supporter of India, and I think my record in the United States Senate speaks for itself. We did put in all of our meetings with both business and government that India's reluctance to call out Russian aggression in Ukraine is a challenge. And I understand the historical part. I understand that Russia stood more closely with India in the 1971-72 war around Bangladesh and Pakistan. I understand that 65% of Indian military equipment is still have to be replenished with Russian military. And I also understand the generational thing. I have a view that many people over 60 in India still look to Russia, that people between 40 and 60, it's a flip of the coin, that people under 40